for me, it is a very good day today because I have two of my mentors with me, Koch and Stephen, and they are my mentors on the journey of longevity. And I would really like to share what I have learned with all of you, especially on the topic of DNA, cancer, epigenetics. But these are words I also did not fully understand at the beginning. Therefore, I thought I asked the basic questions to them. Maybe I start with you, Stephen. There is this word of cancer. This is a very dangerous word for all of us. And tell us a little bit about you. Why did you think about cancer treatment and also before? Tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, Thomas, I'm really happy to be here. I don't get a chance to talk so closely and upfront with a friend that is equally interested in the field. My background, I come from the biotech industry, and I've been in it for 30 over years. And to be very honest, this 30 years seems like a short time because the rate of change in technology, in biotechnology, is moving faster and faster, right? So I've spent time developing next generation medical devices. I've spent time, quite a fair bit of time in the stem cell industry, building and developing stem cell therapy. And now I've invested fully in the field of DNA, epigenetics, as well as cancer. Now, you asked the question about cancer and why is it such a scary word. Yeah, the fundamental of cancer biology is that it is part of us. It is us. It is something that is in us and has always been in us. But as we age, our immune system deteriorates. We live in cities that are constantly, under heavy pollution. Our lifestyle has been immensely impacted in a negative way. That causes and gives cancer an opportunity to come back again and again. But the nature of the biology of cancer is that it is a natural part of us. And the tools and drugs that we have developed have always been to try and kill it.
Yeah, and it is, I heard and read about this personalized product screening for cancer. So let's assume I would have cancer. What does it mean for you? What should I do? And what is this personalized product screening?
In clinical biology, with the treatment of cancer, there are international guidelines set up to guide doctors in terms of how treatment should progress, what drug to choose, and so on and so forth. But as we know, cancer is highly personalized. We find cancer tumors in twins that happens at the same time, but genetically they're completely different, or at least the genetics of the cancer, right? So in order to solve or to address cancer as a chronic disease, you have to take a very personalized approach. The nature of cancer is heterogeneous, which means there are different subpopulation of cancer cells. It's not one type of cancer cells we're trying to deal with. It could be as many as 10, 15 different subclasses, right? Therefore, the need to personalize and the need to tailor and understand how to give the right drug at the right time for the patient is now, a fantastic science and opportunity for us to improve the clinical outcome of cancer treatment.
And how is it practically? So I would give you a piece, biopsy, send it to your lab, and what do you do with it?
So we require either a surgical resection, which is to cut out a piece, or we can work with biopsy, which is to put the needle into the site of the cancer and remove a bit of the tissue with fluid, and that then gets sent to our lab. Now, the process from that point onwards is fairly complex because it involves us having to regrow or recapitulate these cancer cells. But we want to do it in like a 3D environment that captures the heterogeneous nature of the cancer, which means we're trying to recreate an avatar that is as close as possible to its natural state in the body of the patient. That's the first step. The second step involves dosing, putting in the right amount of drug. That determination took us 2 years just to figure out, right? And we've been developing this test now since 2015. So it's been quite a few years to get it right. Now, once you have those two things done, what you end up with are many copies of these cancer avatar that mimics very closely to how it would respond as if it was in the body of the patient. And we can then measure and quantify whether it responds to this drug or that chemo agent or that targeted agent. In principle, that's how it works.
Interesting. So you treat the cancer outside of my body before you come back to my body.
Exactly.
And how does it then work? Are you then getting these results to my oncologist and he applies then the personalized treatment to me?
That is the principle of how the whole workflow is being carried out today, right? We are providing oncologists and clinicians a data point that doesn't exist today, right? Because they don't have the means to test on a real-time basis outside the body of the patient and to run these simulations. But now you can. And the report the clinician gets is a highly quantifiable, and it's prioritized based on drugs that do work, so you can focus on those. And it then lists also the drugs that is on the guideline but doesn't work, so that you do not waste time, you do not, put the patients through unneeded side effects and pain and not have the benefit of the drug working.
No, this is really fascinating. And I think that will be a relief for many people, I can imagine. So last question is, who should do this test? Is it stage 1, stage 2, or what is your recommendation?
That's a very, very good question. Currently, most of the patient types or the patient inclusion criteria we get are patients that are late stage relapse. That means they have gone through the cycle of first line, second line drug based on guidelines, right? But for whatever reason, didn't work for that patient. So this test is extremely relevant to patients with late stage relapse setting. But about half of our patient groups are neoadjuvant. That means they just discovered they got cancer and therefore are waiting for our test result to determine the right drug to start with, right? Because you have to understand, cancer by its very nature is highly adaptive. You give the wrong drug, guess what? It's going to adapt, right? So you want to get it right from the start, from day one. And that constitutes almost half of our current patient group.
Very good. Really inspirational, Stephen, and thank you on your journey.
Thank you very much.
Okay. That was very interesting about cancer, the treatment of the cancer, but there is something we heard about DNA and do I have a chance to get cancer? But before we go there, you are expert in DNA. Can you say a little bit about yourself? What makes you passionate about thinking that? Give us a bit your background.
When I was young, I would like to have a healthy lifestyle. And I also would like to be a superhero, basically, when I was young. So I tried to find a way how to be a healthy person. And I found out that basically everyone have our own DNA data set, right? So in order to know our DNA, it's the fundamental knowledge that we need to know ourselves. So I have passion about that. So I took my bachelor degree in genetics, and then I continue in bioinformatics for my master. And then I took PhD in biomedical engineers. So it's still in this concept of how to understand the DNA. So I dig deeper during my PhD that how can we monitor or check the sequence of DNA. During in that time, the cost of sequencing the DNA is pretty high, but right now it's getting lower. So everyone is affordable and accessible. So I think it would be a good idea that one should know our own DNA so we can understand the fundamental basic information in our life.
Can you make this DNA a bit tangible? What is the DNA and why is it important for us?
So basically, imagine that DNA is the book of your life. Let's say it's like a blueprint. So if you understand the page that represent part of the DNA's organs or how it's work or how it's function, it would be nice if you can understand the risk that you might have in your DNA. So you have to be aware and check out your certain organs regularly, something like that.
Okay. I read that there is so many opportunities to make a DNA test. I can go hospital. I can also go to your company. So what do I learn from this?
So basically, if you buy our DNA test kit, basically you get the barcode swab that you can collect your DNA sheet sample, and then you send it to our lab. So we will sequence all your DNA, and we check which part of the DNA is wrong, which part is right, which part can give you a potential risk to cause some diseases. We compare this sequence with the worldwide database with clinically evidence, and we tell you which disease or which part of your body could cause disease in the future. So you have to be aware every time when you have the new checkup every year, you have to talk to the doctor and ask about, is there something wrong happened in this organ yet? What should I do next? Something like that.
But the DNA does not give me the result, Thomas, you are sick or you have cancer.
Yes.
Does it say that, or is it only a probability that I could get?
Yeah, it's probability because as Steve mentioned, it depends on how much its effect to the gene based on the environment that we might have as well. Because in terms of epigenetics, it's about how those part of the gene function. It's about on and off switch. If that part of your genes is mutated or the code of the DNA is wrong and it's on based on the environment that you have, it also definitely cause some disease or some problem to your bodies. So that's why we need to understand both DNA side and the epigenetic side as well.
And let's assume I have done this test. I read these are 500 pages, 500 tests. This is overwhelming.
Yes.
So if I get this report, what should I do then?
So if you get this report, it will serve you as a guideline for your lifestyle adjustment. So you basically know what food you should eat, what exercise you should take, and what kind of health checkup that you have to be focused for the next year.
And who would you recommend should do the test? Is it more the younger people because they have a long DNA time, or older people? So who should take the test?
Yes, the earlier the better. So everyone should have the DNA test since they were born. So you will have your own guideline.
So for me, bad luck.
No, not bad luck. It's not too late. The earlier the better. So you still have a chance.
Very good. No, thank you, Congo. I heard this word epigenetic, and as a normal person, DNA, epigenetic, this brings it back to your second hobby, if I may say so. Epigenetic, in simple words, Congo mentioned it. What is it?
So the word epi and genetic means that it's above the genes. Epigenetics itself is a fairly new field of science that adds on to NGS or next generation sequencing, is what Kungov has been talking about. It adds to our understanding with a deeper, actionable intervention that we can do. As Kungov has mentioned, with gene testing, we are able to see what are the associated risks? What are the statistical risks? With epigenetics, it now allows us to look at the exact activation or activity of that risk. So you have to understand, with genes, the set of instruction doesn't get executed unless it's being asked to do so. So there is a key to activating it. It's just a natural process that's inbuilt in us. That key is called mintylation. And mintyl groups are hydrocarbon molecules that get produced as part of our natural lifestyle of how we live. Do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you exercise or not exercise? Are you highly stressed? Do you sleep enough? All these comes together to produce these signaling molecules. And the signaling molecules will then attach to the respective ends of the gene sequence that then either activates or silences those genes for the specific production of the good things and the bad things, right? So in summary, that's epigenetics.
So to summarize, from my understanding is, from Koch, I get the measurement of the DNA and various my risk factors along the DNA. Epigenetic from your side says, I look at the risk factors and look whether they are switched on or not, active or not.
Absolutely.
So I could have a risk, but the risk is never happening because it's not switched on. Right? Is that a fair summary?
Yes.
So I also heard that there is an epigenetic test which can define my true age or true health compared to my passport age. What is this?
So we offer that test, and we go in depth into understanding and interpreting the maps of these mintylation groups and activities. From there, we're able to calculate quite precisely your biological age compared to your chronological age. Your chronological age is your calendar age, right? Your biological age is your cell age. If we understand that your biological age is much higher than your calendar age or chronological age, then something is not right. Either your lifestyle is not right, or something needs to improve. And we use something like 10, 15 parameters to calculate that. But the interesting thing about epigenetics with these mintyl groups, even though it's a very strong chemical attachment, is that you could detach it, you could reverse it, which means that you have an opportunity or a window that you could potentially do the right thing, change your lifestyle, and reverse this process of biological aging.
If I would do the test now and I appear 5 years older than my passport, what do I do?
So by knowing that you're 5 years older from a biological age standpoint compared to chronological age, that's an opportunity to try and change your lifestyle, to try and intervene, right? One of the very important thing about these mintylation process is that while we can map the attachments of these mintyl groups, we can also detect the detachment. This is fully reversible in most instances and most site on the DNA. That means you can consider changing your lifestyle from a standpoint of exercise, from a standpoint of diet, but more importantly, from a clinic standpoint, you can start thinking about using supplements and relevant drugs, as in medication. So we have actually curated these products and intervention, and they are done through publications and clinical data that have been shown to work to push these demintylation process. So indeed, you could reverse it. You could make your biological age younger, right? Even below your passport age. And the benefits are immense, because then you're talking about delaying the onset of chronic diseases or preventing the onset of chronic diseases, right? And this is a fantastic extension to DNA tests, because now it becomes actionable. It becomes something that you can act on and show that it did work.
Well, very fascinating, I must say. I think now it's on us to take the test and to face the truth. Are we older than the passport or not? And the test will take the truth. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Kongrov. It was, as usual, very enlightening to me, and I get very inspired by what you guys are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.